My Valley of Adventure. On the day after Halloween in 1954, I was diagnosed with rheumatic fever. I was a shy 9-year-old, below average 4th grader, just starting to fit in with my classmates. No, I could not go to school. No, I could not walk. Yes, I must stay in bed. You are very, very sick. My shoulders shook as I cried into my pillow. Little did I know that this miserable situation would change my life. During those first days of my illness, Welsh relatives came to visit, and in sympathy brought me a book. That afternoon, when our company had gone, my mother patiently read the first chapter to me. I was entranced. However, the next day, when I asked my mother to read chapter 2, she refused. Even though I pleaded, she would not read to me. I was dumbfounded, angry, and immensely sad. An hour later, the book became too much of a temptation, and I began slowly and awkwardly to sound out the words. I doubt if I managed a whole chapter that day. In fact, it took me 12 days to finish the thrilling adventure story of 2 boys, 2 girls, their detective friend, and a rather loud parrot defeating thieves of the most dangerous and frightening sort. What a feeling of satisfaction to have finished. And the adventure was so wonderful. I was filled with joy. The book? The Valley of Adventure by Enid Blyton. Enid Blyton's books are in the same genre as Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys. That is riveting to young readers ages 9 to 12. With this first success, my mother promptly drove to the Albuquerque Public Library to find more books for me, but my medical condition was worsening and the unread books were soon forgotten. The doctor said the only known remedy was to give me penicillin and aspirin and keep me from putting stress on my heart. Not only was I to be confined to bed, but I was to be carried to the bathroom for my needs. During those November days, weak and dizzy as the rheumatic fever raged, I gazed at the red drapes, children's drapes, decorated with horses and cattle and cowboys branding. The view from my bedroom window was only of a tall concrete fence and a usually clear blue sky. Clouds are rare in Albuquerque. Mostly I drifted in and out of sleep. By December, my hold on life was slipping. My parents slept with me between them to make sure I did not die in the night. The doctor prescribed liquid iron and warned that I should not let it touch my teeth as I swallowed, else my teeth would rot away. The iron, she said, was the last line of defense. Finally, in early January, I became more stable, still bedridden, but no longer at death's door. My mother struggled to keep my spirits up. One memorable day, she brought me a deck of cards and taught me how to play solitaire. Grandmother must not know that I played cards, said my mother, as card playing was against the Baptist religion. Still, Mother said it would be all right since I needed to have something to do in the long days. The library books, which had languished in the early winter months, finally got my attention. With the good taste of the Valley of Adventure in my mouth, I tentatively began reading my next Enid Blyton book, The Island of Adventure. What triumph! Mother gracefully did not share with me that island is not pronounced island, and that a British flashlight is not a trouch, but a torch, and that my favorite character, Lucky Ann, was really Lucy Ann. My reading engine had been ignited. Soon my mother and the lady librarian became partners in keeping my book needs fulfilled. A considerable amount of time was spent figuring out what I had read, what my current skills seemed to be, and what might be of interest. The 5 Enid Blyton books in the library became 15 as the librarian bought more. Other children soon found these books and echoed my enthusiasm. In February, a traveling school teacher was assigned to me. I was behind in all my subjects. Try as I might, I was still very weak and could not cover the workload required. Finally, Mrs. Lefto decided to focus on the math homework exclusively. My book reading, she hoped, would take care of the English. Meanwhile, the book selection process at the library became more difficult as I blasted through the children's section onward to the upper grades. Still, Mother and the librarian managed to keep the books coming. In mid-April, I reread the book that started it all. It took me 2.5 days to read The Valley of Adventure, when it had taken 12 days, only 5 months earlier. It was still a wonderful book. Just days before Easter, I was finally declared cured. My library card showed that I had read 103 books. The following September, the child deemed slow in reading and behind in the multiplication tables the previous year, emerged far ahead of her grade level in reading and solidly grounded in math. My 4th grade year was the year I had rheumatic fever, and I consider it one of the luckiest years of my life. True, the rheumatic fever was a hardship. However, the time I spent in bed reading stories that staggered my imagination, reading of places, people, and ideas that were beyond my known world, vicariously watching through story what worked and what did not, that time was perfect. My academic success was virtually assured, but more important, I was transformed into a lifelong learner, a person who sometimes, usually at odd times, has provided unusual solutions to hard problems. My secret? I read it in the book.
Yeah.